Hey, good afternoon traders. It's 19th of October, 1:45 here in the UK, and we are just about to enter the US Open. What's been the predominant feature of this morning's London session is the sell-off in the US dollar. Is this something to be afraid of? Even I would say not, even though we are expecting and looking to trade dollar strength. Based on our sort of analysis, what we're looking at is we've seen how the market has come down and it's forming a potential inverted head and shoulders at major support here where the market has retested previously. Where we would change our viewpoint and the fact that maybe the dollar is going to continue to weaken will be if the dollar index breaks this low here. So in the meantime, what we're going to look for is basically the dollar to roll over through this period here. So clues would be just looking down on the smaller time frame, looking for that shift in cyclical pattern. So as it currently stands right now, looking at the hourly, you can see it's just been a constant sell-off through the London session. There's been no sort of change in sentiment. It's just been solid seller candles. However, this candle's still open. It is the 1 p.m. candle. If we do see any sort of bullish sentiment here, that it could be basically profit taking through the London session. There's no clear sign to be a buyer of US dollar just based off a one candle pattern. So what we'd be looking for is some sentiment, some follow through, and that could be looking for your Morningstar combination. It could be looking for your Morningstar on the 1 hour and then seeing a shift in cyclical pattern on the 15 minutes. So don't just jump in if you see one bullish candle. Look for that little bit more sentiment shift. Now, if we go over to something like sterling, we'll have seen a solid rally this morning. A lot of this is on hopes of Brexit talks continuing through the day. After last week, we saw the EU and the UK decide that they were terminating talks, and Boris Johnson insisting that the UK was going to go through an Australia type deal, only for an hour later on Friday for talks to potentially resume again. So it's a lot of poker play at the minute. So don't be caught up in wild swings on pound. As we can see, it's still sitting within this broadening pattern through the 130 barrier. I'd be very cautious of trading any pound pairs because this could have some sudden impulsive movements based on a headline, a tweet, a remark, and it could potentially just be rumor, no truth. So be very, very cautious when it comes to sterling, and likewise that can be said for the euro, based on the fact that these are the other counterparty of the Brexit deal. However, sentiment still remains to the short side after we've seen price go through this pattern here as we discussed last week. We can see it moving. We had a break to the downside, and then we've had this bear flag formation form. We broke out, and then today we've seen the correction. So this is the type of price action we're looking for. We want to see the corrective move back up into here, and then we want to see price roll over as we discussed on the dollar index chart. But we don't want to be getting involved right now because it is clearly a buyer movement. We will be looking to trade this once the corrective move comes to an end. That could be a clue of a nice bearish candle on the hourly, and then looking at a 15-minute or 5-minute if you're that sort of tuned into the smaller time frame. But you want to see the market roll over, and by that we're saying we want to see, instead of this buyer movement like this, we want to look at the smaller time frame. We want to see that clue, we want to see a lower low, lower high, and then we can look to get involved on that next lower high and trading it back down to at least the 116 barrier. Price I do feel could go below 116, but in the meantime that's going to be our first port of call, but only once we see those clues and the market rolling over. Moving on, we'll take a look at dollar CAD. Now this market, we've seen price pushing down towards 1.3. We had a nice movement up to 1.34. Price has then rejected and come back down to 131. We tested a soft or minor level at 132.50. Now, as we look at this on the daily chart, this could be the higher low formation, or price could just push back down into the 1.3 where we form a double bottom, and then we look for that next daily impulsive move up, and a close above 134 will give us that solid higher high on the daily chart. In the meantime, intraday traders, I think really you want to stay clear of this market right now. If the market does push above 132.50, intraday traders can start trading it long towards 134, waiting for that impulsive move above 134. We get that, then we can, it's plain sailing to 137, looking to trade those corrective moves. Over to silver. Silver saw an interesting push up this morning to $25. Based on the higher time frames, we are looking at a sell-off in silver towards this $20 barrier. Now, in order to be looking for this movement, this is basically a mirror move of this. Here's our corrective formation. We're looking for a price. We want to see it break to the downside. We want to see it break out. We'll look for another corrective pattern, and then we'll trade that short. First sort of take profits will be towards the low of this pattern here, so around the 22, and then if we get through this area, we'll be looking for extended targets of 20, where we'll then be looking for that long-term move where we do see future value and long-term growth in those precious metals. But in the short term, we will be looking to trade this to the downside until our seasonal bias kicks in towards the end of November. A couple of cross pairs to look at. Aussie yen. Now this is predominantly going to be looking, we could see a correction back up in towards the 75, 75.50. We can see that morning star formation, but what I'll be looking for is, now that price has broken out of this rising wedge, we've created a lower low, we're looking for price to correct back somewhere into this 75, 75.50 area, and then we'll be looking for extended initial targets of around 74.20, and then potential extended targets down towards 73. What else have we got on our watch list this week? We've sent out to our traders on our commitment of traders report. I'm just going to fire this across so you can have a look at what we sent out. One of those charts that I do think you'll be looking for, those commodity traders out there. So if we take a look at corn, we can see prices tested the $400 barrier. We've seen short contracts increasing significantly and the net position coming down, although not quite as low as we're looking for in the July 2019 where we saw that big sell-off. Now what I'd look for is those short contracts to get above that 1,000 contract point, which could see price up at a 450. So where we're currently sitting right now, if we look at this from a technical point of view, we could see a pullback from around 400 back down to 360, and then we see that long-term move on corn back up towards 440, and then that could be the corrective move that we're looking for here. So that's high on the watch list. Another market that we're seeing some potential very good trading opportunity would be here with soybeans. Lovely structure point at 1070. We can see those highs back here in July 2016 of around 1200, but this has really been the barrier to break through, which the market has struggled, and we've seen some really good selling opportunities from here. But then if we look at that and what's happened with our commitment of traders report, we've got an all-time high. That's this red line here in short contracts. We've broken previous all-time highs in short contracts. We're looking at the net position, the blue line down here. We can see that market has significantly pushed lower. Potential for a short opportunity on soybeans, and we'd be looking at something like this, looking for that 4-hour double top, break of the neckline, and then trading that retest from just above the $1,000 mark. So that's it from our watch list this week. We thought we'd give you a little insight into commitment of traders. So if you did like the information that we've produced, please hit like, share, and subscribe. If you do have any questions or any charts you'd potentially like us to have a look at over the coming days, please let us know in the comments section below and we will do that for you. Have a great trading day, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.